November 2022 to December 2023. So that's almost 13 months. It was a roller coaster of anxiety, stress, depression, and they really actually appreciate that. Oh my god, you're a newcomer. Like, how so you packed your bags, you packed your life
Yeah.
from Pakistan, and
Mm.
and how it must be so difficult for you. The weathers are extremely harsh outside. You're not able to go outside a lot because it's brutal winters, and then you're mostly staying home. But then the day ends at 4. There's no sunlight, and then you're like at 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, you're like, is it midnight? Like, what's happening? Like, it feels like a very long night. Yes, it is expensive. So I see that there's a jump in our rent, there's a jump in our groceries. Even though we say that Canadian healthcare is universal healthcare, it's not really free. You are paying some cost to it. And if I need to have a jump in my career, break down those barriers that are here, it's a smaller market, um, then maybe yes, that's one reason why I would move to US.
Hello, friends. My name is Bahroz, and welcome to my channel. Today's video is actually a podcast that I had with Masooma Raza. I had a podcast with Masooma previously as well, which was all about how you can study in US for free, rather you get paid. So you can check it out somewhere here. I will leave the link also in the description of this video. But today's podcast was all about moving to Canada. Is this a right decision for you? Is this a right choice? And if so, what are the challenges and what are the benefits of moving to Canada? So Masooma shares all her experience. So I talked to her all about finding a job, the career success, social networking, healthcare system, all the things that we want to know if you are moving to Canada, immigrating to Canada, all the questions that you would have. She kinds of unpacks all those questions for you. Make sure that you stay tuned till the end of this video because Masooma will also be sharing with us things related to what she doesn't like about Canada and things like racism, things like healthcare system and all. So make sure you watch till the end. Now I do have to ask for you before moving into the video. One, press the like button and second, subscribe to the channel as both of them are extremely important in order to motivate me and also help me increase the quality and the quantity of content that I post on this channel. On this channel, I post content pertaining to career and financial success. So if you are someone who is interested in how to ace your career and how to become financially free and improve your personal finances, this channel is right for you. Hello, Masuma. Thanks again for joining. So, we've had a podcast on our channel before as well, but that was pertaining to how you moved to US for studies and move to US and study kind of for free, rather, you get paid as well. So, I will leave the
Yes.
link to that podcast somewhere in the description of this video. But today, we are here to talk something very different, which is with regards to
Mm,
your move to Canada, you settling
yeah.
in Canada, and all. There's a big audience on my channel who are interested in knowing how and if they should move to Canada at all.
Right.
Because I usually say this as well, and before I pass on the mic to you, that it's a great place, it's a great country,
Mm,
but this may not be the right choice for everyone. Although it seems
absolutely.
like another Western passport, having a Western
Yeah.
passport or another passport is the right thing to do because
Yeah.
maybe everyone is doing it, but maybe it's not right for everyone. And for some, it is the right choice. So that is
Hmm.
what I want to solve with our conversation today. But before
Hmm.
moving into that, how about you? We start with you introducing yourself, and then we can move into a lot of questions that I have for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Beros. My name is Masooma Raza, and I moved to Canada in November 2022. Currently, I'm working in the healthcare communications for one of the Ontario Health teams here. Um, yeah, and I think for me this was a good move. This was a very good move. I knew that even before I made this move. I did my thorough homework, but I believe I agree with you that this may not be the perfect move for everybody. It is a immigration country, and that's one of the biggest benefits. But then once you land here, once you come here, the reality is something you need to be mindful of.
So thank you, Masuma, for that introduction. Now, before we go into the details of whether this was a good choice or not, because you've been here for around 1.5, 2 years, whether it was a mistake or not, good choice or not, but let's first talk about what was the reason for you to decide that you want to immigrate. So that is one.
Hmm.
And then if you decided to immigrate from your country, then why did you choose Canada and why not any other country? And I ask this question especially because you also have a US qualification
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
I would assume for someone like you, it is much
Hmm.
easy to flow across the world in the Western
Hmm.
world. So
Hmm.
that's the two-part question I have. Why immigrate at all? And then why Canada?
That's actually a very good question, Meros. That's true. I did complete my education in the US. And so I was very sure when I was moving here that it would either be US or Canada. I want to stay in the North American market. It's a bigger market. I want to explore my opportunities here. The good part was that I had a strong network of my professors, my teachers, my mentors in the US. But at the same time, Canada to me appeared to be a pro-immigration country. Um, Prior to COVID, the process was relatively not as lengthy as it is now. It would only take a year and a half for you to completely immigrate to Canada. And so for me, the idea was to move to a North American market. And so once I moved to Canada, it would be easier for me to move to US at some point in time as well. That was the initial thought. I did, however, complete a thorough feasibility, a thorough homework before I moved here. I wanted to see everything, the reality of when I land here. How will the job opportunities be? How the cost of living would be? What will be my lifestyle? What are the challenges I can encounter? What's the integration like, the cultural integration, and so on and so forth. And so I spoke to a lot of people as well before I came here. I asked their experiences. I wanted to know firsthand what are some of the challenges that they had come across. But as I'm talking about it right now, I do realize that a lot has changed um, prior to COVID. People who immigrated here before COVID have a completely different experience than people who started immigrating after COVID. But coming back to your question, I feel that was one of the prime reasons why I wanted to move to Canada, because I had experienced a North American culture and I wanted to stay close to it.
Now, guys, one call out. In case you are interested in growing your money in Canada, you need to invest your money. And for you to invest your money, the best platform is an online broker called Questrade. I've used them for past 7 years. They are simply amazing. Very simple for you to trade into stocks and also to open accounts like TFSA, FHSA, RESP, RRSP, all the great investment accounts that are there that are offered by the Canadian government. You can open them using Quest Trade Broker at a very minimal cost, rather no cost at all. Their fees are extremely, extremely low. So I would highly recommend that you check them out and open an account with them for trading purposes. Now I will leave the link in the description of this video that you can use in order to open an account. And if you use that link, you will also get a $50 credit in your account as well. So check it out. Got it. Masum, I also remember talking to you last time and also talking to you off camera as well, that you did have a situation where you got married after you put in your application for Canada. That's
Yes,
right, right?
yes,
So,
yes.
not for this podcast, but I think at some point in time, and if people are
Yeah,
interested and they can put in the comment, if they want to understand what is the process of coming to applying to for Canada, the process
yeah,
of you inquiring about it, because I think that's very important step of connecting
yeah,
with people and asking the right questions. So
yes.
I just part of me wants to go in that direction, but I want to stay away from that. But I think we can have a separate podcast where we can talk all about how do you go about filling the application, how do you go about inquiring, doing your survey and assessment, and then also this part of if you change your relationship or if something changes in your application, how do you
Yeah,
still manage? Because a lot of people have that scare as well, that if something happens in their application will get rejected and all. Anyways, I don't want to go in that direction, but let's come back to the point, which is the decision that you made moving to Canada. So
yeah.
let's start with the first one, which is economics. Economics,
Hmm.
and when I say economics, I mean the job, right? So, with regards to
Hmm.
job, how easy was it for you and for you in general? Why I ask is given the age you came in as well, which is when you come in your kind of late 20s, early 30s, versus people who are coming in their late 30s or 40s. It's a
Yeah.
different ball game. So would love to understand from you, how was the experience like finding a job? And there is another piece as well, because people kind of say there are a lot of immigrants coming, it's very challenging to find jobs, you'll end up doing odd jobs, it's difficult, don't come to Canada and all. So I want to hear your experience. How was that?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question, Beros. And that's something which a lot of people ask me when they're moving or when they're thinking of moving to Canada. For me, I think one of the big benefits was that I had studied in the US and I had good internship experience under my belt that kind of helped me in just entering the door, just getting a few first few interview calls. My first interview call was while I was in Pakistan. I was packing my bags and literally 2 weeks away from moving, but I had already started applying for jobs from Pakistan to Canada. And so I think I was lucky to get the first few calls for interviews, but I did not make it. uh, those interviews went horribly, and now I know why. In that moment, I thought, oh, I have it. I nailed this interview. It went really well. It was smooth, but moving here and communicating with people here, understanding their language, and not the language they speak but the language in which they communicate, they what their thoughts are, what they value in life. I think those are the aspects which really I needed to understand in order to prepare myself to even be in an interview call and ace an interview. Um, and I think that's one thing which, no matter what international degree you have, you need to come here and you need to start unlearning. Unlearning the old ways that you know, unlearning the ways that are very much ingrained in you, which you think are the right ways or the right concepts or the right ideas that work smoothly for you in any country, in your home country, whether you're from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever. But after moving here, you have to be prepared to unlearn. There's a whole process of unlearning and then relearning. And I think that really helped me. That's one thing. But I also know people, and one of them is my husband, who struggled to even end up with one interview call. And I think it has been, what, 16 months since we've come here. And my husband got a job last month. So he was having, he had a few interview calls. And to us, it seemed they are going great. But I feel like what really, really worked for this particular opportunity for him was networking. And that is one thing which I have genuinely started believing in: the power of networking, the power of connecting with new people, and not just for, a means to an end, that, oh, I'll get a job. it's also your way of becoming a Canadian. So basically, when you're in a new country, any new country, there's this whole process of rebooting your thought process and really starting to integrate into the culture. And so networking really helps you with understanding how Canadians think, what Canadians value, what are the how do you even start, um, how do you even land the first interview call. So I think, for every newcomer, start building new connections, start networking with people not just in your industry, but it also sometimes help to connect with people outside of your industry. The job that I currently have, I was networking with my line manager for a month, and so it really helped me having that connection with her, to kind of enter the door and have an edge, as compared to other competitors. It's not that you will end up with that job, but having knowing someone, and having the edge that this is through a relationship, a trusting relationship. You have that edge, um, over other competitors.
Got it. Makes sense. A lot to unpack here. So, Masuma, question number one is how soon should you start looking for a job? Because you said you started
Mhm.
looking for a job in
Yeah,
Pakistan. So,
yeah.
when you were in Pakistan, but how soon in Pakistan should I start looking for a job? So, let's say I'm flying in June of X any year. When should I start looking for a job? How many months before I fly out?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. So I remember my visa came through in September, and I was flying out in November, and I only had 2 months in between to do everything, literally to pack my bags, to start searching for, where I'm going to live, where I'm going to land, who to reach out to. And that was also the time when I had started like really scoping the job market. But I would recommend for anyone who is in process of applying for the Canadian immigration, at least start scoping the job market. Maybe you won't get through the interviews, of course, while you're in another country, but at least start building your connections, start networking with people, start talking about, what it's like for XYZ sector, XYZ sector. Yeah, I think those conversations need to have before you even come here. um, there's a lot of homework that you need to do, before you come to a new country, so that it doesn't all come as a surprise to you when you land and you are not able to even make one connection or get through, someone.
Got it.
So yeah.
Another thing that you said for you, you landed job in first month, 2 or 3,
First 4 months,
first
yeah.
4 months. Okay, first 4 months, which is good. I assume you would also qualify it as super good, like within first
Okay,
four
yeah,
months. Yeah, this is good.
yeah, yeah.
Now, and it took longer for your husband to find a job.
Yes.
Would you be now looking back able to say any learning you had in terms of how you were able to land so quick while it took him
Mm.
some time? And I assume by now you also have examples of others as well, who your friends or social circle who found jobs. Why it takes someone longer than
Mm.
people who can land early? Like, is it just luck or there are some elements to it? I know you talked about networking, and I'll go and talk more on networking piece as well. But there is an element of you having the degree as well. So
Yeah.
another piece I was thinking while you were talking about the degree and all, I was like, maybe the recommendation could be, if you're not looking, can't find a job, maybe start building some qualifications and all. But this is just a hypothesis I'm making. So
Yeah.
can you talk about it as to what defines someone getting a job quicker than later, excluding the element of luck?
Like I said initially, I think what really helped me is having, an international degree and some level of international experience, even though it was just an internship that I completed in US. But I think it did play a part. It did play some level of benefit on my resume, but it wasn't the only like it wasn't the only driving factor behind the success. I think what also happens is at what age you're coming in to Canada. At what level of your profession are you coming to Canada? So I was not even at the mid senior level. I had only 4 years of experience, so I was just starting to move towards the mid senior level, and it was easier for me to knock some doors and um, settle at even a level lower. um, I could see that there were more opportunities for someone like me who's at um, a junior level, for the lack of a better word, in their profession. But for someone like, for example, my husband, he had 13 years of experience when he came here. So he was already at in a management role, at a senior management role back in Pakistan. And so for him to find a job at the same level was a challenge. But then he settled for something less. It often came as, oh, you're overqualified for this role. So I think to break that wall, to break that barrier, was a little difficult for him in that way. But then what really, again, helped him was networking, was connecting with people, was sharing his story. You need just a few trustworthy relationships and connections to build in order for in order for people to trust you, that where you're coming from, who you are, what your capabilities are. You have some transferable skills that we can use or we can have on our team. And so I think that really helped him with the role that he eventually ended up with.
So, would what would you say would be the ideal age range with regards to career in Canada? Getting it,
Hmm.
ease of getting a job. I assume it's like you can make career otherwise as well, but ease of getting a job.
Yeah.
What would be the ideal range in terms of age group that would you would say?
Yeah. So let me clarify. It's not impossible. You
Hmm.
can always, come up in your late 30s, early 40s and still make a career. I know people who have done that. But with the ease, I think the ease level um, would be in your 20s and your mid 30s to mid 30s. I think that's the ideal age bracket where, and I think the idea of express entry immigration was to have, a skill trade of young adults
Yeah.
from different country. And that's why it's also easier for us to find a job, to land a job. But it's not to say, it's not to discourage anyone, because I've also known people who've come at a later stage and they are doing great.
But if you're not okay to compromise on the level, and which is fine, there are people who,
Yeah.
for them, the level is important, and everyone has their own
Yeah.
preferences. I assume the way you said it, that it won't be the best of the choices. Like you can still do it. There is a big element of luck as well, which we can't discount. But just the facts that if you're not okay to compromise on the level you are in your career, then maybe Canada move may not be the
It's not
happiest move
for
for
you.
you.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I'll share an example with you here, Behrouz. I know a friend, and I think a lot of people who are doing really well, especially people in the UAE. I know some friends who are there who are doing great. They are um, having good level of savings, but they also know that this is not a long term goal for them to continue living in UAE. So they are trying to look at their options, but at the same time, they are struggling to give up their lifestyle in UAE. And even when they come and make an entry in Canada just to get their PR card and go back, they see that, okay, yeah, they have to give up a lot. They have to sacrifice a few things before they even make it here. And so they're not sometimes comfortable with that. So if that's the case with you, then yes, it is definitely not the country for you. Then I
Masuma, what I've figured, because I moved to Canada when I was 33. It's been 7, 8 years now.
yeah,
And what I've figured is it's a difficult decision, but it is not a good decision in point in time when you're making it when
yeah,
you're young. So let's
yeah.
say when you are in your late 20s, it's
Hmm.
not the good decision.
It's
But this
yes,
decision keeps getting better and better as you
better
start aging.
in
So if
yes,
you ask someone in their
exactly.
30s living in Middle East, they go like, no, 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 why would I move to
No,
Canada? If you ask someone
yeah,
in their 35s, they go like, oh, I should have moved to Canada. If they're in
yeah,
40s, maybe I missed the train. And when they are in their 45s and 50s, they go like,
yeah.
I wish I had been
I
in Canada.
wish
So it's
I
like
had.
this
Yes,
decision gets better and better with age.
better.
And on the same lines, maybe just ranking wise or scoring wise, what I would want to understand from you is when you came to Canada, which it was which month, which year?
It was November of 2022, so very close to the winter break.
Okay, November 2022. So how would you rate your satisfaction, happiness on a scale of 1 to 10 when you came? And how did it change over a period of time? And where are you now? And
Mm,
I have a point of view in my mind where I'm heading, and I assume you would have the same answer. But I just want to ask the question first
yeah,
before we can open the discussion on that angle.
yeah.
So, how would you rate your happiness when you were there, and how has it evolved, and where are you now on a scale of 10?
So I'm very clear on that. And November 2022 to December 2023, so that's almost 13 months. It was a roller coaster of anxiety, stress, depression. Um, yeah, it was really really difficult. I think there were moments when I was questioning whether I made the right decision, but at the back of my mind I always knew that this is the right decision. Just hang on, just wait just a little bit, because everybody kept telling me from their experience the first 2 years will never be easy. The first 2 years are the years when you are acclimating, when you're integrating. It's just like, imagine when you have a potted plant and you move the plant from one pot into another pot, and it will take a little while for that plant to adjust to the new pot, because you've completely disintegrated it from its original environment, its original familiarity, and now it's in a new environment. It has to get used to it before it starts growing. So it was exactly the same. The first 13 to 14 months were just a roller coaster ride. And here's another thing: if you're coming as a single person versus if you're coming with your partner versus if you're coming with kids, the experiences are completely different for everybody. In terms of your marital status, in terms of your family size. um, I was coming as a married person, and my partner was struggling with finding a job. There were moments of like depression, and so I was in a complete, I feel like mentally I was not doing too well, but at the same time I was trying to convince myself that this is the right choice. So I think from there to today I feel like now I'm getting better. Now I feel like at the scale of 10, my happiness is somewhere around 8, 8.5. I enjoy every day I wake up. I enjoy my work. I enjoy the city views outside. I love it.
Nice.
I think this is the best decision we've made
Now,
together.
the reason I asked you this question is, and of course, your experience would be slightly different as well, because when I moved, I had kids as
Yeah.
well. Um, and The reason I asked is this question is that even in my social circle, there were families of usually four, and everyone
Yeah.
who would come to Canada in the first year they would be saying we'll get the passport and I'm running out, 3 years done
Yeah.
and I'm out of here. And frankly
Yeah.
speaking, I was the same as well, which is as soon as I have the passport, I'll move out and go back to Middle East. Because I
Mm.
came from Middle East as well, and of course Middle East
Yeah.
income levels are good and all. By the second year it was like mix. Yes, I may if there is an opportunity, and by the third year I was like, I'm in love with this place, I'm not moving. And
Yes.
it's just because you're
Absolutely.
struggling when you come in, you don't have a job,
Yeah.
or the job is not the level you want and you don't like it, and you always keep looking on the grass being greener on the other side, till you start
Yeah.
watering the grass on your side, until this
Hmm.
grass starts to grow on your side as well, and then
True.
you're like, either the grass is equally good, and so you go like, it's not worth it to make the change again, or the grass is really better at your side and you go like, no, I'm just happy here. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I asked the question, and I see you had the similar experience as well. One more question that I wanted to unpack on the career side, and then we'll move to the
Yeah.
next segment on this podcast, is networking. So can you give me an example, end to end? How would you network? Like, just take an example. If I'm like calling you now from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and saying I'm moving tomorrow, and tell me how to get a job, and you'll say you have to network, and I go like, network? What is that? What do I need to
Yeah.
do? Like, do I need to send an email? Do I need to pick a phone
Yeah.
and call someone?
Yeah.
Who do I call? So
Mm.
just take a hypothetical example, or maybe your own example, and tell me end to end how you would network and follow through and all.
So, actually, that's a very important question, Behrouz, because I also did not know how to network. I never felt the need to network with people in Pakistan. But coming here, I learned the ropes, and I'll give you my example. So, initially, I mentioned that I got my current role after networking with my line manager, and so I came across her profile, had no idea that she has an opening in her team, but I just connected with her because I saw that she was currently working on some health and community care project. And so I was like, okay, I'm anyway looking to learn about the healthcare of Canada. And so let's just connect with her, talk about the project. And so I just connected with her on LinkedIn. And then once she accepted my request, I sent her just a brief message. Hi, I'm Masooma Raza. I'm a newcomer to Canada. I moved here, so and so months back. And I'm really intrigued about the project that you're running in XYZ location. And so I want to know more about the project. I'm really interested in learning about the health and community care of Ontario. Will you have 30 minutes of your time? Could you please schedule, um, offer me 30 minutes of your time so that we can have some conversation about your amazing work. And so she was so happy. She was like, sure, I would love to. And those 30 minutes really, that was the start of like a really meaningful, valuable relationship. And during that conversation, I did not talk about any job, that, oh, I'm looking for a job, or I'm looking for, that's just obvious that you're a newcomer. Everybody knows that you're a newcomer right now, you don't have a job. That's an understood, you can say that that's also Canadian way of saying that, that's understood. You don't have to spell it out to them, but you just have to build that connection first. And nobody will do you any favor unless they know you. It's just how, imagine if you are in your home country, and if somebody comes up to you saying, oh, I'm looking for a job, why would you be interested in helping them? So you need to have some level of trust, some level of relationship with them. I'm not saying be their friends, just have that professional, um, relationship over a few weeks, over a few months. And then maybe, somewhere in that journey, that person may themselves ask you, what's your plan? What are how can I help you? And that's what my line manager, at some point after 2 or 3 meetings, she asked me, how can I help you, Masuma?
So you had,
So
so just curious, you had like two or
yeah.
three connects with her before.
Yes.
And did she
Yes.
have a job already or?
So an opening came in her team while we were in the talks,
Okay.
and an opening came in. She had a comms person, but that person was about to leave, and she knew that this vacancy will come up at some point in time, and she didn't say it right off the bat. She
Hmm.
didn't tell me right off the bat. She asked me, "What's your plan? How can I help you?" And I said, this is my plan. I'm looking for opportunities in comms, and I want to stay in healthcare. She asked me what my future looks like. Like, what are my goals? Do I want to stay in healthcare? Do I want to continue in health and community care? And I was like, yes, like that's the dream.
Okay.
That's
So this is an amazing story, and why so is because I have an ego of Mount Everest. So for me, doing this is would not come naturally. So I want to explore this more. What
yeah.
was the response rate when you were reaching out to people? Like, if you reach out to 10 people, how many of them responded?
I reached out to 10 people and I would get like 8 responses
Wow,
saying,
that's good.
like, and that's not for any job, nothing. That's just an invite for connecting with someone without any ask.
Okay.
That's just an ask to say, oh, I'm a newcomer. I want to learn. I am really interested in what I see on your LinkedIn profile. I see that you have some experience in so and so sector. I want to learn from your
Okay.
experience. Tell me your story.
How much was it real and how much was it you faking it? And the reason I ask faking it because you have an intention of getting a job, right? So how much was it you interested in really knowing about the job or about the industry? And what
Hmm.
percentage of you was, I don't care about the industry and I just want the job? And on honest answer.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, so this is not just me. This is something I've genuinely also gauged from the people I now network with,
Yeah.
like people who reach out to me for networking. They are really interested in knowing what's
Nice.
happening.
Nice.
So the first meeting may be like, a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of anxiety. What do I say? How do I structure my conversation? But the other person will always make you feel at comfort. And this is one good
Good.
thing about reaching out to people who are in Canada, and it must be the same globally, but I'm talking very specifically about Canada, that people are so nice and honest, and they really actually appreciate that. Oh my God, you're a newcomer. Like, so you packed your bags, you packed your life
Yeah.
from Pakistan, and
Mm.
and how it must be so difficult for you, because it's a concept, like moving your life, moving your entire, like, everything to a new country is not easy, and they see it, and they then come forward to, when they see that vulnerability, when they see that this person is being really honest to learning, they really want to learn, they are open to connecting, they help you,
So tell me
they
the kind of
really help.
questions you asked. What were the questions you asked
So there
in
were
that
two or
networking?
three questions, only two or three questions that I would always ask them. Number one, what do you like the most about your job? And that way I would know what their role is like in Canada,
Mm.
especially in my industry, in healthcare communications. I wanted to know what it's like, the day to day of their job. So that's number one. And then I would ask, what are some of the challenges that you are currently, experience in healthcare? And that way I would know what are the challenges in the sector, what are the things that I need to keep an eye out for and that I need to learn about. And those were two highlight questions, but then the conversation was so free flowing that things would come up, and things, I would learn more from those conversations than reading any article online.
Got it. Got it.
So yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
think that was a good learning
Now, one last
experience.
question on the job and career, and then I promise I'll move.
Yeah.
Which is, how satisfied are you with your career now?
Very. I love what I'm doing.
And level wise, you're satisfied as
Um,
well?
yes.
Okay.
Level wise,
Yeah.
level wise. No,
Okay.
I would want to make a move.
But is
Uh,
that a natural unsatisfaction that everyone has because they want to
yeah,
move up,
I think
or is it
that's
because you took levels down and you're like, no, I was happier in my career back then and not here and all of that?
so. I'll talk about me.
Yeah.
Um,
And sorry,
I want to,
if I
yeah,
say that in a different way as well. So there is an angle of me always comparing as well versus what
yeah,
I could be or
yeah,
what the others are
yeah.
doing. So I'm
That's
ignoring
so
that part.
natural.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
you comparing yourself with your past and yourself.
yeah,
How satisfied are
yeah.
you with your career in Canada?
If I'm comparing myself, my career right now from the past, I'm very satisfied.
Okay, nice.
I'm very satisfied because I am thrown into something. I was thrown into something which was completely unfamiliar. I'm still learning every day. Still am not the master of everything. So I think learning is one thing which I really value in a role, and at any level. So I think my satisfaction comes from that part. But level wise, I think I want more, and that's just me. That's just the ambitious part of me that wants more accountability, that wants more responsibility and leadership. And so I'm looking to make a higher jump, like one level jump.
Got it.
It's not because, oh, in Pakistan I was a manager, I need
Yeah,
to be a
yeah,
manager here as well. That was a thought somewhere in the past, but not anymore.
got it. Okay, Masuma. So changing gears, I always say that there are two things you need to consider when you're moving to Canada, or for that matter, when you're immigrating. One is economics. So we talked about economics already. The other is social part. So you need to make sure
Yeah,
that you are earning. And second, you need to have a social circle because you just don't want to be in a place where maybe even if you're earning good, you don't have a social circle at all. So,
absolutely.
given you coming as a couple here and living as a couple here, which is slightly different versus what I've experienced, can you tell me all about so? And this is a very open question, so I don't know where I'm heading, but maybe once you start talking, I can pull out more
Yeah.
questions. Tell me about the social circle um, dynamics that you have and what you have now, what you had before, what you're expecting. I don't know. So maybe if you can just speak to the social circle and how
Yeah,
satisfied you
yeah.
are with that angle.
Um, so when we came here, I knew that I have some friends from Pakistan who have immigrated before me. And there was some level of hesitation there to connect with them because, and this is just me being very honest and vulnerable, that there was some level of hesitation to connect with them because I hadn't connected with them in the longest time. They were like my batchmates from 10 years ago. And so we were together in one or two classes, and I was thinking, you know what? I don't know if it's appropriate to connect with them after so long. But guess what? They are my best friends here now. Like a year later, we do everything together. We go out for coffee, and we're exchanging stories, and they're my closest friends here. They really helped me with the transitioning process, just in terms of their moral support, just in terms of being there. That's just something so important when you come here, because it tends to get depressing really easily, like really easily, especially the climate. Like it gets dark at 3 4 in the winters, and you don't have any friends to go out with. You're like, what am I doing? I don't have a job, and why am I here? um and it's just like then a slippery slope from there. So you need to have your support system. It can be in terms of your family, it can be in terms of your friends, or both. Fortunately, we had a few friends from Pakistan here that I just mentioned, and then Anam had his family. My husband Anam had his family here. They were really really supportive, and having them around is just like someone constantly letting you know it's all going to be okay. We all have been there, and trust me, it's all going to be okay. Just someone telling you that, even though you know it, that it's going to be okay, but someone telling you that just makes a whole lot of a difference. Um and and so I think my takeaway from this was that when you're coming here, you need to really come out of your shell and get over your ego and make friends. And it won't be easy, especially at like 30, in your mid 30s or early 30s. It's never easy to make new friends,
Yeah.
but friendships can come in so many different ways. It's not just going out over a coffee and you meet someone there, and it's also like some of the good friends that I have are some of the friends I network with initially, and now they're our friends. They come over, we host them, and we go out with them. And it's just strange to think that our conversation started over LinkedIn,
Got it.
but they are our friends.
But the question is, are they all Canadian, originally Canadian friends, or they are mostly immigrants?
It's a mix.
It's a mix. Okay.
It's a mix, and it's important to have that mix. You it's very easy. It's good to have some level of familiarity in the start, to have those friends who are immigrants from your home country, who can relate to your journey, who are there to be your support. It's good, it's recommended, it's important. But then when you start assimilating into the culture, and when you start integrating into the culture, it's also important to make friends who are not having the same experience as you, but people having diverse experiences. That's important, because that's the only way you will really assimilate. That's when you're talking to people from different backgrounds, different cultures, you have the ability to be more open, to be to get accepted easily.
So, curiosity question, which is, I'm an introvert. I know we've spoken before. You're an introvert
Yeah,
as well. Um, how did you go about making friends who are non-immigrants? And
yeah,
if they're work friends, then that would be easy. You're working with them, so they're friends.
yeah,
But if they're non-work friends, would just like to know, how did you go about
yeah.
making non-work Canadian, white
Non-work
white
friend.
Canadian friends, or
um
non-immigrant friends? They could be any color.
Non-immigrant fans, or
Yeah.
people from different cultures. I joined this networking group called Market Your Health, which is more like networking, healthy networking um, uh, opportunities for professionals and for newcomers, for literally everyone. They do these events, different kinds of events like hiking, uh, biking, going meeting over a family market, um, just going out for different experiences. And it's a mix of professionals of different age groups. So you would see people who are in their 20s just graduating out of university, and then you will see people who's a CEO of Spotify. So it's a very diverse group. It's a diverse bunch. And initially, when I had started going out to these networking events, I would be the one in the corner of the room, because I was just so like introvert. I had no idea what to say, how to approach someone. Just being in my own skin, thinking too much. But then it took me a few tries. Like, it's just as simple as saying, "Hi, I'm Masuma." And that's just the start of the conversation. And one good thing that I noticed here, in most of the networking events, people don't really ask you what you do, what your job is. Like they
Mhm.
never tell you or they never ask you. That's like somewhere in the background. It may come up at some point or it may not. But what they really talk about are their hobbies, their vacations, their holidays, themselves, their families. They talk about experiences. They don't talk about what they do. And that's one thing which I learned while networking. And those were the opportunities where I made friends.
Okay, so Masuma, teach me, because I've tried this, that whenever I'll go in a party or a gathering and I meet someone new, I won't ask the question, "What do you do?" But then I
Yeah.
don't have any other question to ask them.
Any other question?
So teach
Yeah.
me, how would you do it differently if you meet someone in a gathering? What is the question you ask them then? Are you
So,
comfortable? Do you
you
want a
start
drink?
with, yeah, something like very, very basic, like, oh my God, like, look at this weather. Like, it's just so, and, it starts with that. And then it goes on to, yeah, I woke up, like, this is so strange. And, I had so many plans today. And then it goes on to, oh, what plans? Oh, you love hiking. Oh,
Uh,
wow. So, how often do you hike? Where do you go? And, and then it's a flow.
nice.
Or, so very random things can, basic things can start with um, some meaningful conversations. And then one example is, I we were at a farmers market, and that was one of the events, networking events that happened. And they were pouring out like chocolate syrups in small cups and giving out to everybody there. And the person I wanted to interact with, they were like, "Oh no, that's too much of sweetness for me." Like, and I was like, "Tell me about it."
Yeah.
And then it just that conversation started flowing, and I was like, "You know what? I used to be a sweet tooth, but not anymore. Like, I don't know why." And they were like, "That's so true. I can relate to it." And then the conversation
Just moved.
just started
Yeah.
flowing from there.
Okay, cool.
So
I'll try
it's
this. I'll try this. Maybe taking the weather cue as one of them. So a good segue, because you talked about the farmers market. How is the food and the entertainment? How much? I don't know how to ask the question. Yeah, overall, just what is the food and the entertainment scene for you? How you talked about the social circle, so that piece I understand.
yeah.
But other than that, what are your likings, non-likings with regards to Canada? Is it any different in terms of food? Do you find the food that you love, that you eat, or no? And what entertainment do you have? And especially with regards to winters, because you talked
Yeah.
about winters as well. So I know one of the ways to have a good winter is to have a good social circle. But is there
Hmm.
anything else that you've kind of explored? And if not, that's fine as well.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to explore a lot. Um, Also because I think it's only been 16 months, and I was in that part of my, I think, post immigration life,
Yeah.
where I was kind of assimilating, trying to save up for, because we were a single income household for the longest time. And I think, and most importantly, I wasn't living in the city. We were living outside the city, where there's not much to do as outside the city if you don't have a car. So we didn't have a car at the time. So I think, moving to the city now, I realize there's a lot to do, especially if you have your friends in the city. Even in the winters, you can just have like um, indoor barbecue, or I don't know, like maybe book a cabin with your partner, with your family, go for a weekend. That's a weekend getaway. People often go to different parts of the country to explore. They take the train, the via train ride to British Columbia to explore different parts of the West. um, I know that there is Alberta is really awesome during winter, so they go for skiing. They go so going to skiing resorts, going for tubing. All of those are really like winter getaway kind of adventures that you can indulge in. But there's never an absence of experience. There's never an absence of any getaway or vacation or holiday. One good thing about being in a country where people are really into hobbies and experiences is that they also motivate you to do the same. And that's part of being a Canadian, that you have hobbies seasonal wise.
Got it. Got
So it's spread out. Yeah.
I think I should have asked this question, which I'm about to ask earlier. Is there anything? Is there such a thing as winter depression? Have you felt it or not? And I'm asking because we come from warm climates, right? So, and
Yeah.
you just said that all the entertainment that you just called out, you've not experienced all of them just because you were new as well, and you're kind of set in settling
Yeah.
in phase. So, is winter depression a real thing? And did you experience it? And any tips, suggestions around it?
It is a real thing. It is absolutely a real thing. When you,
So, what is it
um,
first so for others to understand as well? What is winter depression?
yeah.
Because I and you understand, but yeah.
So winter depression is when you're not getting enough daylight, and the weathers are extremely harsh outside. You're not able to go outside a lot because it's brutal winters, and then you're mostly staying home. But then the day ends at 4. There's no sunlight, and then you're like at 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening, you're like, is it midnight? Like, what's happening? Like, it feels like a very long night. And so I think just mentally, I think that the biological clock kind of starts tricking you into thinking, oh, it's a very long day. So I think it's a real thing. It is definitely a real thing. I've experienced it. And one of the reasons why I wanted a well lit home was because I wanted more and more sunlight. I just wanted more and more. I wanted to experience like, I didn't want to feel depressed during the winters. And so that was, I think, one way of getting over it. But then another way is that you plan your day in a way that you push yourself to go out, do some kind of physical activity. Go out for a run, for a jog, for a walk with your spouse, with your family, something. Do something, get out of the house, push yourself. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. Go to a library, go to a park, go somewhere for a walk. You would see early morning people rising early in the morning, getting their coffees, um, going out for a run, walking their dogs. And so I think that really helps. I also started volunteering
Mhm.
at a animal shelter. That kind of pushed me to get out of the house during winter, because otherwise I would be really like, no, I just want to stay in and be warm. But volunteering helped me into just going out, because I knew I have to go. I have a commitment. And so spending some time with like animals at a shelter really made me feel happy. And so I kind of like, got over it, or managed it.
Got it.
Not really got over it, but managed it.
Got it. Okay. Another thing was which I asked, and I'll bring it back, is around food. And one question which usually comes is, will we, especially for people coming from Pakistan primarily, is halal food, or maybe if
Yeah.
they're coming from probably India, would be more vegan food. So I think vegan food should still be vegetarian. Vegan food should still be easy to access almost everywhere in the world. It's more of a question on the halal food piece.
Oh,
How easy, difficult that is in Canada, in Ontario?
you'd be surprised. Um, you will find halal options everywhere.
Hmm.
Everywhere. Even if it's a very, like, you can think of a Thai restaurant, you can think of like um, a Mexican restaurant, name any restaurant, and they will have a halal option for you, because they know that their audience, like, now they have customers spread out coming from different parts of the world who ask for halal options, and they know they're going to lose out on that big customer base. So now they have halal options almost everywhere, even in a supermarket. If you go to a supermarket, you will see a section for halal meat. So you don't have to travel a long distance to get a halal meat. You can go to your closest grocery store and you will get a halal meat there. So that's not really a problem at all in Canada. And that's one of the good things that kind of shows how accepting they are of multicultural society.
Got it. Another question I have, which you kind of mentioned, is you moved from being away from Toronto and now being in
Yes.
Toronto in the city.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was your experience? What is your advice for? And again, I know you're a couple, not kids. You have a pet at
Yeah.
best. But what is your advice, suggestion on that for people who are making a choice as to where to live?
Yeah. So I, like you said, I don't have kids, so things may be different for people coming with a family, with a bigger family with kids. But for us, the reason to stay outside of Toronto for the first year was only because we wanted to stay closer to our family. um, and that was because it was a good support system to have, a moral support system to have. um, and But I think it also came with some cons, because we still don't have a car, and so our commute would be extremely long, especially on days when I would have to commute to my office in the city, and most offices are in Toronto, in downtown. And commuting to the city was a good 2 hour commute, um, from the public transport. And so and it was costly. So I wasn't really like, I think now when I think about it, it was a little inconvenient just in terms of that. But I also know that people who have kids, who have a family, prefer staying outside of the city only because they are looking for good schooling systems for their children. And you know, in terms of the quality of education, in terms of, you know, the safety of the neighborhood where their kids would be going to school. I think those are the conversations they have when a family has kids. But for us, it was more like, okay, we need to be closer to our offices, to our work, to our friends, where we can explore the city.
But
And
is it more expensive living in the city versus
yes,
living up? It is. So you feel
it
it
is.
as well?
Yes, it is. It is expensive. So I see that there's a jump in our rent. There's a jump in our groceries. As
Mm,
simple as that. You are saving on commute, but then there's a, you know, opportunity cost somewhere else.
okay.
So you have to choose. I think it will, in some ways, think of it this way, that if you're saving somewhere in some part of the uh, province or some part of the city, you're saving something else somewhere else. And so the cost is, I think you have to decide where, what matters to you in that moment, in that phase of your life. So for me and my husband, we wanted to be close to our works, but at the same time, we also were missing the city life. We were
Mm.
missing the city life, the hustle and bustle. You know, and so right now, I think that's, as a young couple, we wanted to experience that.
Got it. So now a good segue. Let's talk about the cost of living as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a relative comparison, and the reason I say this is because you're coming
Yeah.
from Pakistan. But
Yeah.
I think that one relative comparison could be your cost relative to the income you're making.
Hmm.
How do you find? that, and again, it's an open-ended question. Wherever you can take it, whatever thoughts you have, and then if I have questions, I'll build on that.
Yeah. So that's actually Beros, that's such an important question because, and I know Pakistan may not be the best comparison, but right now, if I compare my situation when we were a single income household just 2 months back versus now when we are a double income household, I feel there is a lot of difference. So previously we were not able to save. It was just me who was earning, and one of the reasons why we were also living outside of the city was because we couldn't afford living in the city. It was just me who was earning, but now that my husband has a job, we're able to save as well. And so I feel that it's very important for anyone coming to Canada to know that the cost of living is high, but the only way you can live comfortably and save for a secure, sustainable future is to have double income. Like if you're married, you need to both need to be earning in order to live comfortably. Um,
Got it. So if you have the number, if not, that's fine as well. But can you say how much do you save now and with double income? I know your double income also just started recently, so maybe you don't have
yeah,
the numbers all lined up for now, and you move houses as well. But you said you were not saving at all, so kind of living paycheck to paycheck with
yeah,
single income.
yeah.
What would be your saving rate now, where you're living in city, paying a higher rent, higher groceries,
Mm.
and all? So can you still save? And if yes, approximately what percent of your income?
My aim was always to save 20%, but I would only save 5 to 7% on a single income. And yeah, it was really difficult. It was really difficult. I had never budgeted so obsessively and extensively ever in my life. And so I feel like now, like you said, it's just been a month. So I don't have a number for now, but I know that things are getting better.
Okay.
I just can feel it that we are now moving towards a comfortable saving goal.
Got it. One Another comparison you can take and maybe you can't take is if you can compare versus US. And the reason I'm asking is I was struggling to pick a country for you because it's difficult to make a
Mm.
comparison on cost of living versus Pakistan. And hence I was talking more on the saving rate. But I know you were in US sometime back and you were living as a student, so it's very different. The kind of stuff you're
Yeah,
getting and buying is very different versus
yeah,
when you are
yeah,
earning. If you
exactly.
can, can you just compare versus US? Like you find it more expensive, less expensive? If you can't, that's fine as well. I can move to the next question.
I actually cannot bear rose because I wasn't earning like you said, and
Yeah,
whatever stipend I got was it was like a stipend, like a prize money I would get
yeah.
every month. I wouldn't have to work for it. It was just there. But yeah, and it was also pre-COVID, so you also have to like keep in mind things were very different prior
Yeah,
to
yeah.
COVID than what they are now.
No, that's fine.
um,
That's fine. And the inflation has really kicked in big time
really
recently,
kicked
so you
in.
can't really
Yes.
do a good comparison there. That's fine. Now let's move to the next question I have, which is around healthcare. So
Yes.
I've experienced as well. I'm talking as if I'm really a podcaster who doesn't know about Canada, but I know about Canada. So, but let me ask the question from a third party angle, which is I've
Yeah.
heard that Canada healthcare system is not good, and you are in healthcare. So talk about primary and secondary healthcare if you can, and
Mm.
maybe also explain what primary secondary healthcare is as you talk. Given you are working in healthcare, would
Yeah.
really love to know your opinion as to how far those rumors or hearsay things are correct and not.
Yeah. Look, now that I'm working in healthcare, there might be some biases for when I talk about it. No healthcare system is going to be perfect. So that's just one thing. And even though we say that Canadian healthcare is universal healthcare, it's not really free. You are paying some cost to it. Um, Yes, you're not paying the cost right there when you are walking into a doctor's office, but the cost is coming from your paycheck. The heavy taxes that come out of your income. And that's also one thing we did not discuss while the economic part, where we were talking about the cost of living. And I'm going to address it later. But healthcare is, yes, it's not perfect. It's not. Um, Once you move here, you realize the cracks in the system. Let's just say it that way. But you will be given the services eventually which are appropriate to you. So that's a more I think that's how I would like to put it. That eventually you'll get the services that are appropriate to you, because there are long wait times. There are, okay, so once you move here, you're an immigrant. You are covered. You have a health card. But the health card will only cover a certain level of costs. It won't give you complete 100% healthcare free. It will cover only certain types of healthcare for you. So, for example, it will cover your doctor visits. And by doctor visits, I mean family physician, primary care visits. It will cover that. It will cover some other kinds of doctor specialist visits as well. It will cover maybe some kinds of basic tests, but not all. And that's it. And surgeries, emergency care and surgeries. But everything other than that, so for example, if you're getting some procedure done, if you want some medicines, if you want to get some radiological tests done, lab tests done, that's not free. You have to pay dental, exactly, even dental, cosmetics, anything related to your ophthalmology, so your eyeglasses or whatever, they're not covered. You have to then get a third party insurance, a private insurance, to cover all of that costs. If you're employed, you're lucky, you'll get that insurance. But if you're not, then that cost is coming out of your pocket. So that's one thing. Number two, if you need to be attached to a family doctor. That's very important. If you, and by being attached, I mean you need to be on a family doctor's roster, one family doctor's roster. That family doctor is responsible for your entire case, your entire medical file. That doctor is also responsible to um, refer you to other specialists. So, for example, in Pakistan, in my home country, I would, if I ever needed a dermatology uh, appointment, I would just make an appointment and go to a dermatology clinic. Here you cannot do that. You need a referral. You need a referral from your family doctor. And in order to get on a roster of a family doctor, that's a wait time. So the wait time is 9 months to a year.
Wow. So would it be fair to say that it's a capacity issue, not a quality
Yes.
issue? Like the quality is
Yes.
good, but the capacity issue,
Absolutely.
which is by the time you get the service, you'll get a A1 service, but the time it
Yeah.
takes to get the service is a lot.
Yes, it is a capacity issue.
Okay.
There, but then the capacity issue at some point also turns into a quality issue, because if your doctors are overburdened, if your nurse practitioners are overburdened, they are looking at an XYZ, twice the number of patients than they're supposed to, then you're not getting a quality care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then then all of it is getting affected. So I think that's one thing. That's a reality that you should need to know, that there are long wait times, but the care you get will be appropriate to your needs.
Got it.
that's
Got it.
that's one important thing.
Thank you. I think, Masuma, there is also an element of you being very young with your husband and not having kids,
Hmm.
which is your need for healthcare is also less.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I would also, and maybe that's a benefit which has come early. And if, like, when you come early, you also get that benefit initially, which is you don't have to rely much on the healthcare, but eventually it will catch up. Like age will catch up, you'll have kids and all.
Yeah.
Anyways, makes sense. Now let's move into another topic, which is around racism. And racism, two angles to it. One is work related. Let me say it again, which is work related, and second is racism, generally speaking, like being on the
Hmm.
streets, grocery
Yeah.
stores, in the parks and all. Have
Yeah.
you encountered anything? Have you heard of anything, or known anything?
Sometimes it may not be as blatant, but sometimes when it is blatant, you experience it. So I have experienced some nuances. Like I can tell that this is because of my skin color, maybe, like I think some of the connections that I've generally, just the friendships I've garnered in the past 1.5 year that I've been, I feel like I have to like come off, I have to prove that because from my skin I look like, okay, I'm an immigrant, I'm brown. But the moment I start talking, they're like, oh, your English is pretty good, like how, and but you're saying you're a newcomer, so how is that? And so I think that's just like, I feel like that's just very racist. It may not be racist, but it just feels very racist, like
Uh,
making you feel that you cannot speak English just because you're not from here. So that just gives me an ick. Like I wish I don't get to hear it as often as I do. Um, and also sometimes when I'm out and about, for example, traveling in a public you know transport, I feel like sometimes people avoid sitting next to me just because, and I've noticed it a lot of
okay.
times. It may be just my overthinking mind, but I feel like no, it's not, because I can't be wrong, like more than like on every occasion that I've noticed it. um so if I have like an empty space in my cabin, like completely, people avoid sitting next to me just because I'm brown. And just when the entire train would be completely filled and there's no space left, that's when somebody would, like, then eventually come and sit next to me. So I don't know, maybe that's a kind of like a very subtle racism or something. I don't know. It's just like something in the back of their minds that's there. But and I have some stories of other people who have experienced racism quite blatantly, at their workplace. I know someone who was told by their supervisor that I was controlling myself in the in your interview, the fact that you have a beard and that a, you're coming from Pakistan, and I was quite hesitant. Like it was very vocal the way he said it to my friend, and so I think that's, if that's not racism, then what is.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So got it. But have you encountered any at your workplace?
no, I
No.
haven't.
That's nice. Okay.
So yeah, but not to say that there isn't. It also depends on the kind of work, the kind of sector you're in, and the maturity level of your organization. Sometimes you feel that there is a quotient of diversity there just from just from the appearance, and just to make it look like, oh, we're diverse, but really they're not. But then there are some organizations like the one I'm working at where diversity is really, really valued, where I can see that people value you coming from outside. And one example is me. My manager really values the fact that, I'm a newcomer. She really took time. She didn't have to, but she really took time to spend with me and to kind of mentor me in this journey of, acclimating to this new country.
Got it.
So
Got it. Makes sense.
yeah.
So, Masuma, last question before we end this podcast, and thanks a lot again for wonderful discussion here. You have a degree from United States. Would you ever move to US, and what will make you move to US? I know there are pros of moving to US, but I'm also evaluating the cons of living in Canada.
Yeah,
So if you would ever, why would that be the case?
I won't lie, that's a thought that often comes to my mind, that I do want to at some point. um, it's not just that because I have a degree in healthcare, but also because now I have a North American experience. I can easily, I, I, I think I have some edge where I can apply to US for new opportunities. Um, but I think the only reason I will do that is because I can sense that there are much bigger opportunities there. It's a bigger market. Um, and if I need to have a jump in my career, break down those barriers that are here, it's a smaller market. Um, then maybe yes, that's one reason why I would move to US. But I do know that I will not. That won't be a permanent move. It wouldn't be. I really love living in Canada. I do value what the long term, you know the long term picture of security and um, lifestyle that I have here. I do love the society, the Canadian society, and I'm now Canadian. I'm part of that society now. This is my home. So um, yeah, I think I cannot move my home again. This is my home. So it won't be a long term move, but it would be a temporary move just for my career.
Got it. Thank you, Masuma. Thanks for this wonderful conversation. Thanks for all
Thank you so
the
much.
examples and experiences you shared. One last thing is, where can people reach out to you who have more questions, who want to network with you? Where can they reach out to you?
I have my LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so I can provide you my LinkedIn profile address. That's where they can reach out to me. I will also leave my email address with you, and that's where they can reach out. I
Cool.
would love
Thank
to
you.
help.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
for all.
Thank you guys for watching this video. In case you found this video useful, I'm sure you'll find another video very useful on my channel where I talk about how you can go about getting job in Canada in the fastest possible way. You can check it out here. Other than that, there is another video where I compare different investment accounts in Canada in order to increase your wealth. You can check it out here. Thank you.